Here's something that I have said to my clients more times than I can count. How you treat any emotion is really how you treat every emotion. You cannot selectively numb the hard emotions. When you push down hard emotions with your behavior, you push down all emotion with that behavior. And that's a cost I don't think a lot of women ever stop to really add up. Welcome to your daily hit of grace and grit, your quick dose of inspiration to kickstart your day. I'm Courtney Townley, and here is today's hit. I want to talk to you today about what emotional avoidance actually costs you. Not in theory, but in your real life, in your body, in your relationships, and in your ability to feel the good things in your life, not just survive the hard ones. So when you develop a pattern of buffering difficult emotions with whatever your buffering vice is, maybe that's with food or wine or scrolling or staying really busy with work, it can be anything that creates distance between you and what you're actually feeling. The reality with that is you don't get to choose which emotions you mute. You mute across the board. The woman who has learned to wall off things like grief and anxiety has also, without meaning to, walled off her capacity for deep joy and happiness, for genuine connection, for felt satisfaction. She's not broken, she's protected. But protection has a price, and protection is why we buffer, right? Buffering is a way of self-soothing when our self-soothing needs are not being met in other ways. But again, like I've said, the price of that is everything starts to feel a little muted, a little further away, like you're watching your own life from behind a frosted glass. And then there's what happens in the body, right? When emotions are not processed, they don't disappear. They go underground. They take resources to keep them there. So we spend time, energy, sometimes mental bandwidth, suppressing them. They continue to run as background stress in our nervous system, quietly elevating our cortisol, keeping our body in a low-grade state of alert, taxing our energy again in ways that we can't always trace back to the source. The things you avoid feeling do not stop having an effect just because you stopped looking at them, right? So buffering literally is just kind of numbing. We're not really solving anything. We're just avoiding it. But that avoidance doesn't make it go away. And for women in midlife, this becomes harder to manage than it used to be. Because hormonal shifts of this season, of the midlife season, right, they lower our buffer capacity. And what I mean by that is your nervous system is more sensitive. Emotions that were possible to suppress in your 30s may feel physically impossible to hold down in your 40s and your 50s. I have felt this in ways that I was not prepared for. I have shared on the podcast before that midlife for me brought out a lot of anxiety. I've never had anxiety in my lifetime. But due to the chemistry of perimenopause, specifically progesterone leaving the party, I have now have anxiety the week before my period starts. I have a kind of a rage that I never used to feel. And I think it's honestly just intolerance of things that I've tolerated for a really long time. And now with less resources on board, I just don't have the same tolerance that I used to. And it's actually a beautiful thing because it forces me to confront things that I probably should have confronted a really long time ago. So what many women describe as suddenly becoming more emotional is often actually the body saying, I can't keep bearing this weight. I can't keep bearing this cost. Something has to change. that something is not better coping. It's not better buffering. It's not better numbing tactics. It needs to be a different relationship with what you feel, whatever you feel. Because your emotions have never been a problem, right? They're just messengers. They just have information about your life and the way that you think about your life. Your relationship with your emotions can be a problem. And the question we're sitting with today is not how to manage them better, but what are they trying to tell you? Why are they there? Especially the ones that seem to be so persistent, right? They keep knocking louder, and you just keep going further to the back of the house to try to act like you don't hear the knock. What are those emotions trying to tell you? And what would you regain if you just open the door to spend a little time listening? If this stirred something inside of you, imagine what a whole book of clarity and courage could ignite. The Consistency Code, a midlife woman's guide to deep health and happiness, goes even deeper into the mindset and practices that create real, meaningful change at midlife. Grab your copy today over at theconsistencycode.com and keep the momentum alive.